One of the exciting things about being here at Grand Hospital and Clinics is really the opportunity to be a part of something special. Shortly after I accepted the position to replace Jim Mattis, a longtime CEO here, we had a series of transition calls. And one of the first calls that he and I had, he let me know that one of the things I needed to work on was developing a plan to build some new operating rooms. And I joked that nobody brought this up when I interviewed.
So our original ORs were built in the 70s, and they were built to meet code at that point. Currently our ORs do not meet current code. And so that was our big motivation to go here.
We are on our second waiver, and that waiver is set to expire in 2028. But we've also seen a lot of growth. Since 2018, we have seen about 29% growth in surgeries through the end of 2021.
We are growing. I mean, we are expanding services. We're doing it cautiously. You know, we don't want to grow too fast, but we also want to continue to provide services for the community that they need.
So I think one of the exciting things about this new facility expansion project is really the focus on the patient. These new ORs are going to be fully integrated. Our pre-op, our intra-op, our post-op areas will all be in the same physical location.
And I think that efficient patient flow is going to be nice for the patients. It's going to be less going through hallways and things like that that we all know we have to right now.
When we bring patients back, they're in a gown, they're laying on a bed. Women don't have their makeup on, they're in a blue bonnet, not looking their best. And just to see either strangers or other members of the public that they know can be uncomfortable for them.
Our ORs right now are due for an upgrade. What's really exciting is that we didn't just take the things that would get us up to the level that we have to be at in order to, be able to continue doing what we want to do. We actually have looked ahead.
So the new suites will be everywhere from just under 700 square feet down to 400 square feet for the smallest, which is our largest OR now.
There's actually bigger space to move around, which it can get pretty cramped right now. We obviously do great. I think we all do great surgery here, and we all do everything we need to do, and we have up to date for everything that we have, but it will be nice to be able to move around a little bit freer.
We won't necessarily have to play Tetris while we're moving equipment around. We'll actually have some space to be able to work a little bit more comfortably.
And then there have been a few situations, particularly with trauma, where you'll end up with multiple surgical specialties operating on a patient at once. And I had a case where there was a vascular injury and a broken leg, so general surgery is working on the vessels and ortho is trying to get the leg stabilized and straightened out. And it's just tough to get all those services in a 400 square foot operating room.
But there's a light that actually makes it so it kind of pretends your head's not in the way. So it's really cool, new technology, so we'll be getting that as well.
Credit to Jeremy in administration, he actually involved the providers fairly early on with what are our needs. There were a handful of us that made trips to Boise, Tri-Cities, and it seems like maybe Pendleton was another one, where we looked at their ORs and had the opportunity to see what their workflow was, but also ask questions like, what do you not like about it?
So we have nitpicked where everything from where the anesthesia person's gonna go to where the plugins are for the docs.
The hospital has been very good at getting physician input and saying, hey, if we're gonna do this, rather than, go to some expert that's never been in an operating room other than to look at it and measure things up, let's talk to the people that have their boots on the ground and let's see what they think.
When I think about a lot of hospitals that are struggling across this country, and we've just enjoyed great community support, we really think it is a strategic imperative that we make this investment now that will help us with recruitment and retention of key surgeons and hopefully allow us to recruit some additional surgeons.
When you have modern ORs, you're much more likely to get surgeons to come here.
From a surgeon standpoint, in a lot of the training, you're dealing with the newest technology and with the newest techniques and advancements in surgery. So in training, you are training and working and learning on all of this new equipment, and then to go to a rural area that says, yeah, all that new fancy equipment that you have, yeah, We don't have any of that. Definitely from a surgeon's standpoint is a turnoff. If you don't have the operating room facilities and kind of the newer stuff that I've learned on, maybe I'm gonna look elsewhere that could offer that, because that's gonna allow me to use my skills that I worked so hard to develop in training.
Most of us are not here because we want to be publishing papers and being the expert in a given field. We're here because we want to do our job and raise a family.
I love working in the operating room. I've always wanted to. I wanted to stay rural and serve my community that I grew up in.
You know, we're very lucky in our community to have the services we have and not have to travel to see a cardiologist or a neurologist.
Also, you have a hospital whose bottom line is, let's take care of the community that takes care of us. Not let's see how many pennies we can squeeze out of these people to make the bottom line better for us.
People nowadays should expect to have a smooth process for something as serious as having surgery.
You know, we talk often about our tagline, big city medicine, hometown touch. I really think people, when they walk into this new facility, are going to think they're in a big city. But where we're going to differentiate is that hometown touch. As I mentioned earlier, we really are taking care of our neighbors here.
I had a fairly big operation on a knee, and I chose to have it done here because we have good surgeons here, we have a low infection rate here. I saw no reason to get in my car and drive to Boise or anyplace else.
Ultimately, it's looking ahead to the future to say, well, what is this community going to need in 30 years or 15 years? And can we meet those needs? And does it allow us to hire more surgical specialists that potentially we don't need right now, but we may?
We've also hit that point where we need to look at the cost of, okay, how much does it cost to keep the old up and running versus how much does it cost to build something new? And eventually you hit a point where you say, okay, let's put the costs into the new stuff and build something new that's going to last for another 50 or 60 years.
You know, I'm often asked, why invest in a $70 million project when there's a lot of uncertainty in this world? This is about taking care of this community now and into the future. There are lives that will be saved because of this facility. Nobody plans to have an emergency surgery. Having access to these state-of-the-art services is more important than ever. These ORs will save lives, and the donations that folks make might end up benefiting their loved one or themselves because these ORs are in place, and we've been able to recruit and attract some of the best surgeons in rural America.